Hi everyone, Gary Waterman here, former police officer and recent Christian. I'm sorry I keep saying that, but I think you all need to understand how this is really a spiritual war, and my videos are now starting to show that. The people in charge of our governments appear to be completely corrupted by a misled occult system. So I'm not angry at them because at the end of the day they've been brought up into this system, but it must change. They must start to realise that now from what they're seeing. It's got to change. They've got to step down and let truth and integrity and transparency take over again. So I'm going to show you part one of the video again in relation to this very important document. So I'm going to do part one of this document again. I took the first one off because I was concerned about disclosure issues on a particular part of that document. Turns out I was worrying a little bit too much, but it's probably good that I do this one again anyway. Please look at all the other videos and parts. These documents are now in circulation worldwide. There are now groups forming all over the world, peaceful groups that are challenging their MPs and councillors. Every corner of the globe is now heavily involved in this. It's going to change everything. Okay, so I'm going to read this bit to you. So this document has been created by former police officer Gary Waterman, who since July 2022 has uncovered irrefutable evidence of international government fraud involving the forgery of the Companies House register and the use of forged bank documents that government organisations are allowing to be used in circulation to defraud the general public in relation to the taxation system and real estate. Now, some people don't appear to understand how this is happening, so I'm just going to very briefly explain it again. It is shown in the videos, but every limited PLC and LLP company has to register with Companies House. Right around the world, you've got companies registering all the way through or connected to companies that all go through Companies House, which is based in Wales in the United Kingdom. Now, they cannot trade lawfully until, certainly companies that are based in the UK, until with UK addresses, until they are registered correctly with Companies House. However, what Companies House have been doing, and this is now irrefutable, is when a company starts up, there is a document called an incorporation document. That is a legal document that is signed, has details of the directors, secretaries and addresses, but it also has a company name on it, so the intended company name for that company. Now, Companies House have that document and they attach it to the register. However, they have been then putting a completely different company name on the register, which matches that date. So it's a deliberate forgery offence, a deliberate alteration of that information and putting false information. That is now irrefutable. It's there, it's documented, it's around the world. There's nothing really they can do about this, okay, because there's other evidence corroborating that they're all involved in doing that as well. So that is what they're doing, and the reason for that is it means that that company cannot then be held accountable for any illegitimate activity, because you can't prosecute a company or individuals within a company if they're not even lawful and they're not a legal entity. Okay, and Companies House would know this, the government would know this, obviously the legal teams of these companies that are forming would know this, and it's a deliberate fraud. And then what is happening is that our taxation money is being collected and used through these companies, okay? But then you have, because they're false entities, you then have the forged bank documents that are used to falsify the figures for those companies. Okay, so change the real figures of the money that's going through those companies and the real money going to offshore accounts, okay? And of course, that means tax contributors, like most of us are, who want to do our best for this world, are paying more than we should do. You know, and we should be paying way less than we are. I mean, you're talking trillions and trillions and trillions of pounds worth of taxation money has been defrauded from the public over the last few decades. Okay. So, and also, you know, you think you've got companies such as the vaccine companies, they've all been produced in this way and registered in this way, which means they are not accountable for what they're doing. You can't then hold them legally accountable if they're not a legal entity. It's all been done deliberately. It's linked through to the Fujitsu Horizon fraud, the Ben Houchen fraud investigations or inquiries in relation to Teesside area. It links through to the Gaza conflict, everything. You know, so hopefully that sort of makes sense. But you've also got the element of fraud where they're forging the Companies House documents, so you can see that quite easily. They're trying to cover it up by forging the Companies House documents. They're creating duplicate records as well on Companies House that shouldn't be being created. And this is all a way of them trying to hide the fraud, but it's too late. You know, it's here, it's there. And so anyway, there is irrefutable evidence that the system of fraud links closely to Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein, Max Clifford, politicians, government organisations and the World Trade Center disaster in every way, and very, very quickly it links to them as well. Since identifying the involvement of many government organisations in this, Gary has started to publicise the evidence to the general public, because I knew that the legal system was corrupted, so there was no point getting solicitors. And I've done that through the use of social media. This has been resulting in Gary this has resulted in Gary being contacted by family members regarding current child protection court cases and concerns of abuse within the care system. The very first contact was regarding a case in Hampshire. Now remember, I'm from Dorset, this stemmed from Dorset, and there are connections through my company very quickly to Hampshire and the Isle of Wight. And this links closely to individuals within my company, which I've just mentioned, Exmoor Manor Freehold Limited, based in Bournemouth, Dorset, and where I was removed as director after I started to identify the severity of the fraud. And all quickly links to Ghislaine Maxwell. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. I keep getting pulled up than I am. I'm sorry if I am. And the fraud, Gary has since been provided... Gary has since been provided various pieces of information and apparent evidence of concern regarding the child in question in this case during their time in the care, and has conducted, so I've conducted research on organisations and individuals involved and surrounding that particular court case, which is now raises significant concern. So this document relates to that research. I can't go into specifics about the child case. An emergency court case regarding this specific case was held on the 13th of March 2024, and that and identified the solicitor involved, who appears to be acting for social services, and they appear to have been omitting important information from the court case that would undermine the protection supposedly being provided by the care services, and that raises significant concerns, as well as all the things I'm going to show you in this document. The document shows the evidential links identified by Gary through the use of screenshots taken from Companies House Register and their relevant incorporation documents, as well as research taken from other internet-based resources. This all raises serious concerns about the welfare of the child, not only in this case, but the care service itself. This shows that at least in the interim period, the child needs to be taken from the system of care and placed with a relevant and safe family member until these concerns have been allayed. Gary has been involved in supporting the family. Just going to move that down so you can see it. Has been involved in supporting the family regarding the case and spoken to Hampshire Police directly on 2 occasions, offering to provide irrefutable evidence of a corrupted system linked heavily to child protection concerns, as well as contacting almost 650 members of Parliament. They have not contacted Gary at all, and they still haven't. Remember, there was a video of this. I've videoed the call to Hampshire. They said they'd get the officer in the case to contact me so I can provide evidence. I've heard nothing at all. And the evidence I've got is absolutely crucial to that child's case. Why aren't they contacting me? All they're doing is digging a deeper hole. I'm being compelled to present this information to the public. Okay, obviously the overriding thing is the safety of this child and every other child. So I've got no choice. The police aren't contacting me. I've tried all avenues. I have to release things to public. Gary has grave concerns as from the evidence that he has. Where is it? I've lost myself. My eyes are terrible. Where is it? Grave concerns as from the evidence that he has. This system of fraud and its associated crimes appear to be a main cause of most of the problems across not only society but the world. It really is that big, I'm afraid. The people in control of our country appear to have become completely lost, irrational, and cannot therefore be trusted to govern our nations. Now, as I've said earlier, everything suggests that they are practicing the dark arts. It doesn't take long to realise that there's a Freemasonic element to this behind the scenes, and the head of the Freemasons apparently are practicing demonic and satanical rituals. Okay, I'm sorry to say. Where are we? Gary has grave concerns as from the evidence he has the system of fraud and its associated crimes. Yeah, but we've already read that. Okay, the people in control, I've read that. Should be fully apparent taxation system. Okay, so it's just saying there should be a taxation system and things that can be done to remedy it. That's my personal view. However, people might think otherwise. But importantly, here are the contact numbers you need to phone if you haven't already done so. Be firm with the police. Be firm with the action fraud. You need to phone up, express your concerns. Let's apply pressure peacefully to the authorities that we're not going to stand for this. This child needs to come out of this system. Look at the evidence I'm showing you. Okay, make sure you're happy with that it's all true. It is. You can verify it. You can corroborate it. I've shown you how to do that. There's a link here. You can check everything I'm showing you. Phone up. Protest peacefully. Look, you need to do something about this child. Hampshire Police, this is not acceptable. You're not contacting Gary. He's got the evidence. I've seen it. Words to that effect. You need to contact Gary. You need to contact the family. They have evidence that's not being used in this court case, apparently. I'm a former police officer. This is essential. This should not be happening. As a human being, I am absolutely shocked at what is going on, and it cannot go on. Also, report yourself as a victim of this fraudulent system. I've done it. Don't be fobbed off by them. You're entitled to phone up and say you're a victim of this crime. You've seen the evidence. That's my reference number for the action fraud. But you need to get your own. You're entitled to your own action fraud crime number as being a victim. You've seen the evidence. It's now irrefutable. Phone up. Apply pressure this way. It's a peaceful way of doing it. Okay, we need to exhaust all peaceful methods of doing things. This is one of those things. Write to your MPs, contact your councillors, show them the documents, show them these videos, copy the links of these videos, okay, and send them to your MPs so they can see what we're talking about. Okay, you can name politicians. They are now becoming complicit to this crime. Nobody is doing anything about it. That means they're conspiring to allow it. They're conspiring to commit international fraud and international child trafficking and abuse. Okay, you'll see it from this. So phone up, report them as suspects. Let's get the pressure on. Anyway, let's go back to the evidence. So these are just some reports or some research I've done. Now, initially, what really triggered this was this message to me, and thank you whoever this is. I haven't spoken to them since, but they sent a message to me on TikTok saying flown to the IOM, which I worked out was the Isle of Man, and sacrificed here. Look into wealthy individuals on the Isle in the Isle of Man. Okay, that I didn't think too much of this. Of course, I've never spoken to this person. I haven't been able to corroborate what they said, but this is the message I had from them. I then, very soon afterward, and this is not chance, guys, I was then contacted by the family we've just spoken about as a result of the videos I was putting out. That family then led to an interview, okay, with a particular radio channel, and they have been dealing with sex trafficking concerns for the last 20 years. And they said, Gary, have you heard about the Jersey murders, child murders? And I recall it. I'd recalled seeing it or hearing about it. So then I've researched it, okay, and it links in heavily to what I've just been talking about and to this child's case. And here we go. So we're now looking at the research in relation to that Jersey Island alleged, it looks like, certainly child bodies and child body parts, and it links into everything. So you'll see, here we go. So this is just showing an article in relation to it. And please look at this, you know, don't just trust me on this. Go and check everything. You'll see it's all there. It's all there for us. Okay, so it's in relation to a hostel, youth hostel on the island. And what I've done, and I'm not going to go through all of this, but there were body parts found. There was a big investigation. The investigation was criticised. They brought in another police officer. Jimmy Savile was alleged to have gone there. He initially denied having any involvement with the property. He then came out, according to this article, of course, this is not what I'm saying. This is a Wikipedia article. You can go and check it out. Jimmy Savile then said, actually, yes, he had been to this location, and we all know what happened with Jimmy Savile with the allegations of child abuse there. So what I've done is I've researched this, and I've looked at who's been involved. So you've got a couple of police officers, the lead investigating officers in relation to this crime, and then there's some politicians that I mentioned throughout. And again, look at this yourself. And it also mentions the police force for that island. So then that information then leads to further investigation. So this is just some information in relation to the police force, and it says that they're pretty much independent investigation from on this island, and they combat money laundering and terrorist financing It appears as though everyone's linked to that. Now, I'm not suggesting they are directly involved in this, but everything I'm showing you is undoubtedly now linked to a system of international fraud and international child trafficking. Okay, so we're now looking at one of the officers who was the lead investigator. Again, I'm not saying they're involved. So now we're looking at their companies registered on Companies House. Okay, and I've verified that through a name and address. So that certainly appears to be them. The research links to these companies. And what we're doing here is looking at the register. So you can do this. I've just screenshot the register and put it into this document so you can see it. So you can see at the tabs here how we're moving through. Okay, and we're looking through now at company registry details, and it links through to this company, Blackpool Town Centre Business Improvements, very quickly. Now remember, there's over 5 million companies registered. These links are all incredibly quick. I am jumping back and forward at one point or another, which actually it looks like it's a long way from each other, the continuity of it, but it's not. I'm literally following a lead, then coming back to a company again and following another lead from people within that company. So it's very, very closely linked indeed. And straight away you can see Knowsley Housing Trust is linked to it. Now I've got information that around, I can't remember the year, but someone sent me information that company was involved in buying up stock of council housing at one particular point. But it's linked straight the way through, and it's immediately links through to a media company. Now remember, we've got child trafficking linked to this, abuse potentially to children, child murders it looks like. And everything is suggesting that is what is happening, not just in this case, but internationally. It's a massive issue now, but a media company. So you can imagine what that therefore means with child abuse. And immediately Knowsley Housing, you can see it links through from previous research. So the documents that are circulating the worldwide, there's one for Michael Lockwood from the Independent Office of Police Conduct. Sorry, I've got the P&C ran the wrong way on that. But this is showing where those documents are saved, backed up. And they're not just on my devices here, they're now saved in various locations. This isn't going to go away. Not only that, these documents, as I've said, are circulating right the way around the world. So the government really are in a corner here. Their back is against the wall. So the first thing I need to do is resign anyone involved in this, especially Douglas Smith. You need to, I mean, you haven't got an official position. You need to be gone, I'm afraid, Douglas. You started up Fever Sex Parties. You're, apparently, according to the information, you are advising the last few prime ministers, and you're at the side of Rishi Sunak right now. Theresa May's already stopped down. Well done, Theresa. You've done the right thing. Tony Blair, you need to be gone. You know, you need to step away from politics, my friend. David Cameron, Michael Gove, you know, most of the top politicians, you need to go. There's evidence now circulating the world in relation to you. Game's over, my friends. But you've got a council linked to Knowsley Housing. Michael Lockwood, who was supposedly removed from the Independent Office of Police Conduct for sexual offences after I reported my fraud. So all they've done is highlighted things all the way. And then this is the incorporation document for it. And you can see on there, I had to redact some bits, but you can see some other companies linked to it here. And then on the incorporation document, a long list of companies. And there you can see media companies already. The Mirror Group, now we know from the previous research on the World Trade Center document, the Mirror Group is linked to Robert Maxwell. Okay, so we've got Robert Maxwell linked, which means Ghislaine Maxwell again is linked through. That's his daughter, as you know. So we're now still looking into, we've gone back into another person now here within Blackpool, the Blackpool company, and it links immediately through to the Lancashire Partnership Against Crime. Now remember, Nicola Bulley was found deceased in the Lancashire area. This was the force area that was involved in that investigation. And you can see now we're looking at Lancashire Partnership Against Crime. And it's got the Police and Crime Commissioner, not surprisingly, attached to that company. Now the Policing and Crime Commissioner's office has been compromised by the fraud. I've shown that. And this is where the documents have gone a bit funny. But only on the video because they're fine with the circulation ones. So you can see that Eversheds links through to one of the incorporators. Eversheds was on one of these documents somewhere. Now you can look back slowly on this, but you've got Eversheds was linked to one of them. Sorry. Look, you can look back over this slowly, but it's all there. Eversheds features right the way throughout, and you can see that Eversheds links to the World Trade Center research. Now we're going back into the Lancashire Partnership Against Crime, and looking through from another director now, and you can see that it links to this company, Sunni Muslims Society Limited, an active company. So we're now looking at that company register, because this is just showing screenshots taken from it. And on their incorporation document, you have the London Law Agency. That is a falsely registered company, should never have been trading, which means any company with those on their incorporation documents should also never have been trading. And the name on this incorporation document features frequently throughout all of the fraud. This name, sorry, my wife's just coming in. Yeah, you're okay. And also this address, as you'll see on all the documents, features right throughout the fraud. So now we're looking again into the Lancashire Partnership Against Crime, somebody else within there, and they are linked to in Hocko Company. In Hocko Company's linked through to research on Jeremy Hunt, who is the Chancellor of the Exchequer for the government, and also Theresa May, who has just recently resigned, and stepping down in the next election, and the College of Policing. Now we're looking at a connection through to the Police Digital Service, because we mentioned that earlier. And that's where Eversheds comes from, is that company on their incorporation document, which I've shown in another video. But we're now looking in there, and you can see that links to South West Limited. Now they're in the process of liquidation. That speaks volumes. Okay, a lot of companies are shutting down now. This is all coming out. And Southwest One had already featured previously, and it linked, you can see, to the BCP, Bournemouth, Christchurch and Poole research document and video that's now in circulation, and Interpath, and Jordan's, which links to my company, and Andrew Mellor, who was the head of the Bournemouth, Christchurch and Poole Council, that resigned in 2023, I believe, after articles had emerged that he was involved in potential illegitimate activity of the spending of the council tax and his companies. Now look at the other video on that, the BCP research document video. And anyway, you've got a link now to IBM. Now IBM, as you know, is a massive international computer-based system. Okay, so we're now talking about that company. And this is just looking at their incorporations documents. And on their incorporation, you have a British Virgin Islands, I believe. So they're an offshore tax haven company, but they also go through Amsterdam, Netherlands. And on that company, you can see they're based in New York. This is just looking at their main Wikipedia search. Big Blue, okay, was nicknamed. Now, obviously, if you know much about the Freemasons, you know they've got a Blue Lodge. Got various lodges within there, and a lot of the companies I'm featuring do have the word blue before them. But you can see they're based in New York. Remember the World Trade Center. This is just talking a little bit of research about IBM. And you can see that their shareholders are BlackRock, which is featured throughout this. There is mention, I haven't shown it, but there's Vanguard are also mentioned as well throughout that. So then we link through from this person within Police Digital, so the documents all over. Not very good with IT. And now we're researching IBM. So the company that was on that document, because that's a good way to continue the evidence, we then research that company and it links through to this IBM company. So they're all linked together. They have a financial interest in each other because they're linked through the same people, the same companies, the same system of fraud. Just looking at their previous names there to see if there's anything I can tell you about. It's nothing untoward with that, but they're based in Netherlands, this company. And then you've got another one, IBM Global. And this person links through from that to IBM Global Financing UK company. So we're now looking at that company. And you can see they were incorporated, this is important, in December 2001. 4 months after the World Trade Center disaster, this company was incorporated. And you can see Swift Incorporations and Jordan's Limited. Now remember, America gained access to the Swift International Transaction System used by most banks after the World Trade Center disaster. So that's an unlawful entity company because they've used Jordan's on there, which has a false registered incorporation document, which we've talked about. Now we're looking at another IBM company that links through, and it's linked to Interpath again. You'll see this from my other videos. Interpath links through to British Virgin Islands companies, offshore tax haven accounts, but also to Louise Smith, who's the head of incorporation, the head of Companies House, so links through to research surrounding Louise Smith, I should say, and there is a document circulating worldwide in relation to that. It also links through to the High Elm Youth Project accommodation movement that was started in 1929. High Elm links to Max Clifford and Jeffrey Epstein. It's still trading under the name High Elm Youth Project accommodation, helping young people into accommodation, people that are struggling with getting work. It also links through to Sadiq Khan, the Mayor of London, and City Airport and KPMG. Okay, so this is just searching. We're just looking at Interpath. Okay, so this is previous research, and then you can see how that research links in through the other documents. Okay, now I've got this one saved for Sadiq Khan, but I haven't actually sent it out publicly, but it's secured elsewhere. So we got, you can see you've got the World Trade Center evidence links to it again, and Jordan's, and also it links back. Interpath links back to, as we know, Southwest and Andrew Mellor, who was the head of Bournemouth, Christchurch and Port Council. So I'm looking at another IBM company. And they're based in, it's important actually, this one is based in Hampshire. Remember, there's very close links from people within my company to Hampshire. The former NHS chief executive in charge of a £700 million budget and 10,000 staff, and whose husband is a former Dorset police officer that was leaked significant information by Dorset Police about my investigation. The Independent Office of Police Conduct then still shared my statement with Dorset Police, knowing all of this, knowing that I was in serious danger and my family from sharing information with the prime suspect that I'd named, and the fact that I'd been followed and had tracking apps popping up on my phone, and my emails have been infiltrated, etc, etc, etc. The Independent Office of Police Conduct still put me in danger and sent my statement to Dorset Police. The Serious Fraud Office, the Home Office, all refused to intervene. But you can see here we've got a false incorporation for that company. So here it shows what it should be on the register, Companies House register, but this is the incorporation document, and you can see it's completely different. So that is fraud, outright fraud. There you go. It's irrefutable. I think everyone's understanding this now. And I do want to thank everyone, because I'm getting incredible support. Amazing people coming out in all of this. It's absolutely humbling. It really is. Here we've got a HealthLink company, links through to it, and KPMG restructuring, you can see, is mentioned within their address. KPMG restructuring links to research surrounding the death, or surrounding Peter Lawson, who was the lead investigator for the Nicola Bulley case. He was found dead, an untimely death at the age of 50 in his home address. It also links through to Braithwaite and Wells, Bates, Wells and Braithwaite. Now that is a company that links to Keir Starmer, but it also links to the Madeleine McCann case. Very quickly through the Madeleine McCann No Stone Unturned page. And here we go, you've got Swift, Interpath, World Trade Center, all linked through to KPMG. And now we're looking now at HealthLink, that company, HealthLink. You can see this company here links through to it. You can tell from the name, you see, following the evidential links through the register. And again, I will keep saying this, there's nothing they can do. They can't take these videos down. YouTube, you know that these are public documents available to everyone, public records. That is why this is so important. You've got an address here of Canada Square. Canada Square features heavily because it links through to OYES and Griffin. Okay, Griffin links through to Robert Fleming, which links through to the shareholder within my company. And you can see it links through also Canada Square, links through to Connor Burns, who is the one of the MPs for the Dorset area. And I've done a document and video on that, and that's circulating worldwide. And this is worrying. You know, you can see now you've got algorithmic, so algorithm company. So that means that's been infiltrated by the fraud. So algorithm is where they pick up what we're doing online, and they can then determine what information I'm not very technologically minded, but I think that determines then what they enable us to see on our searches. Okay, so again, could be misinformation being given to us through our searches on the internet. And you can see that links to Interpath, and they are now dissolving. Okay, even though they were incorporated in 2002, not long after the World Trade Center disaster, they're now dissolving, and Interpath links to them. We've already mentioned Interpath. And you can see we've got a link now to Southwest One Limited. From that person, you can see he's linked to it. And now we're looking at another algorithm company. So it's a similar name, but slightly different. But it's linked very closely. So you can see everything we're doing online is being infiltrated through this system of fraud. And on the incorporation document, you've got hallmark secretaries, and guess what? That obviously comes up with previous research, and that links to research surrounding, again, Michael Lockwood from the Independent Office for Police Conduct. You can see SCG is on there as well, and it also links through to research that links back to the accountant that was being used for my company. Okay, Carter and Coley. I'm not saying anyone is directly involved in fraud. I'm just showing the evidential links. And if you recall, you've seen the forged bank documents there, clearly forged. I think we can all see that. The bank aren't confirming they're not. It appears as though the bank has produced them. But here we are. We now have a connection very quickly, remember, because this is going back and forward again to the accountant where these documents were being used. And of course, it won't be just that accountant. Sorry about where these boxes have gone misalignment. Here's another one that links through to that person. International Business Machines. They still active. Oh, I haven't got all of that on there. But their incorporation document is so they're a falsely registered company. They should never have been trading. Swift Incorporation Limited, and that means Jordan's is on the link through to it as well. Swift Incorporations, what they've done there is they haven't registered the secretaries and directors for that company, which means again it's false entity because they have to register the incorporation documents correctly. So this is Companies House again. Now this is very worrying. You can see here that it now links through. We're going back to Police Digital. Remember we looked at that earlier. We've now gone back into the record and we're looking at another director now, okay, from that company, and it links through to the Forensic Archives Limited. Now you can only imagine the implications of that. Forensic Archive, and you can see they are they still active. Yeah, still an active company at the time of this document. On their incorporation document, they've got Field Fisher Waterhouse. Surprise, surprise, that crops up, and it links to Canada Square that we mentioned, Connor Burns as well, and Dye and Durham companies, which link to the Teesside fraud area. Back into Police Digital. Looking at this person, links through to banks now. So you now have got banks connected to the system of fraud. Now I've established that NatWest has a fraudulent, again, a false registration. And there's another video coming out about that. So I've now contacted them. And the thing is, once you have a false registration and they're not registered lawfully, that means they cannot act in any way lawfully, because they're not even a legal entity. So that means they can't phone anyone as a company. They can't enforce payments on anyone. There's nothing they can do because they're an unlawful entity. I'm not saying this particular company is, but the NatWest company that I have looked at, which will be linked through to this, has a false registration document. And it becomes harassment. You know, so if a company is falsely registered and then they're trying to contact you in any way, you know, once you've told them, you've given them a chance to explain these discrepancies and they refuse to explain it, and then they continue to contact you, you can say, look, stop contacting me. And if you're not going to explain these discrepancies and show me you're a real entity, then it's harassment. It's a criminal offence. You then report it to the police. You keep reporting it to the police. Show the police the evidence that I'm showing you. They cannot act in any way, these companies. So then it links through to Police Digital Security Centre Limited. Whoop. You can see how powerful and incredibly important this evidence now is for the entire world. This is the answer to everything. Ooh. So we're now looking at that police digital company. Sorry if I'm jumping all over the place. Incorporated in 1984. And when did they dissolve? Oh look, they dissolved in 2023 in August. This is what they're doing. They're just digging themselves a hole. That's a massive signal that they're aware of what they've been up to, and they're now trying to avoid accountability for what's coming. Okay, that's what they'll do, because once the company's closed, you've got no litigation, have you, against that company or those individuals? And they've deliberately, Companies House have allowed that to happen. The government have allowed that to happen. Well, I think you can see that it's game over. It's quite clear to see that the whole system has to change. And you can see you've got Eversheds linked to that incorporation document. And Eversheds, just to show you here, previous research links into Louise Smith, the research surrounding her. It also links into a solicitor that I've been dealing with. So long story, but actually, no, I'll do that on another video. But you've got Max Clifford there, who's connected through to it, Eversheds. And again, you can look at the Max Clifford documents to corroborate that information. Also links through to Robert Maxwell and Berlitz. Now, this is very important. Berlitz is linked. There is a German affiliated company linked to another company called Lichtenschleit. I'm sorry. Sorry, I can't pronounce it. I do not mean to offend any Germans out there. But that company started up before the 1900s, I believe. And they then were involved in publishing. So publicising books in multi-languages. They were also involved in creating a network of educational establishments right around the world. Now, you know what that then means? That means this system of fraud could have rewritten books to suit the narrative of the fraud that was coming, and the Companies House way of being a vessel to utilise that fraud. It's immense, isn't it? This is immense. Going back to this person here from Police Digital, links through to the Police Crime Prevention Initiatives Limited, and Michael Todd, God rest his soul, was linked to that company. Michael Todd was a Manchester Police Chief Constable, was found deceased on the side of Mount Snowdon, supposedly through exposure to the elements. But he was also involved in the review of the CIA's extraordinary renditions and illegal torture and cover-ups by the FBI and CIA. And obviously all of that ties in with the World Trade Center as well. But then linking through from that, the Association of Police Crime and Commissioners links through as well from Police Digital, and we know that's already been infiltrated by the fraud. And it links through to a company called, from that company, Police Digital, again, you've got this person links to Alcohol Problems Advisory Service. Okay, so how can we advise people about alcohol? Well, let's keep alcohol available to everybody, so they're suppressed, they become depressed, they won't then be rational enough, maybe to determine what's been really going on. Now we've got Police Digital, we've got this person links through to a well-being company, CIC. I had information that suggested that was child in care, but I think it also, and thank you to this person, has also pointed out that it means community interest company. But you'll see this throughout the child protection concerns. So we're looking at that company and we've gone into it, and that connects through to children in need. Okay, so children in need, again, this is very quick. Don't forget, several of these screenshots are in relation to one company, because they're all within one company, don't forget. And obviously, as you know, children in need links to the BBC. And this is the incorporation document for that company. And you can see Sundar Mantakani. And look at my other documents and videos. Sundar Mantakani is all over Max Clifford's company's incorporation documents, okay, as well as on some of the health service fraud documents that I've found the links to. Sundar features heavily, and we'll go through that in a minute. You'll see that. But also you've got an address of Old Street on there, which comes up frequently. And this is just to show the Sundar connections very quickly. Yeah, here you go. So Evershed's links through to Louise Smith, we've already shown. But the research on Douglas Smith, the special advisor for the last 3 prime ministers, and the side of Rishi Sunak right now links through to Sundar Mansakhani documents. So does Max Clifford, like I've told you. So does the World Trade Center. And Sundar Mansakhani links to the solicitors that my company were trying to use to enforce my payments for the non-payment of service charges into a fraudulent system, which could easily be secured and make non-susceptible to fraud, but they're not doing it. Anyway, as soon as I identified that solicitor was involved and linked to this system of fraud and threatened them with charges or accusations of harassment, I've never heard from them again. And this is the incorporation document we're looking at now for children in need. Oh, not children in need. What one are we looking at? Oh, this is just showing you, sorry, I was showing you from previous research here, the NHS Confederation documents. You can see that OYES is on there. And you can also see that C&M Registrars Limited. So now we're looking at the incorporation documents for C&M Registrars. And here you go, you can see Sundar Mansakhani. This is showing the previous research for OYES. Okay, so these are previous documents saved, and they link through to the Charles Darwin Trust. Okay, now you can imagine what this now means. Now there's information that Charles Darwin was a Freemason. This means that the whole theory of evolution could have been made up to fit the narrative of this fraud. Let's face it, if you get people to disbelieve in God, people then turn to our governments for answers for everything, and I think they knew that. So you've got an infiltration through to that system through the Charles Darwin theory of evolution. Now we're looking at another company. Again, it's the same. Oh, and I'd like to mention on this Charles Darwin Trust, you've got Farah linked to it. Okay, so Farah, you'll see links through to Ghislaine Maxwell. But also here, you've got links through to a shareholder within my company, which there will be a whole document coming out very soon in relation to them. I've told them that it's coming. They're not doing anything to the right things to prevent it. So unfortunately, it's going to have to be full disclosure of everything soon. Swift link through to it, and also a Royal Marsden company, Royal Connections. And you can see here, remember we said about Farah. So Farah & Co links through to Terramar UK that you'll see later in this document, and the World Trade Center and Ghislaine Maxwell. And now we're going back and we're looking at Children in Need. Another Children in Need company, BBC Children in Need, in fact. And here you can see that on their incorporation document, they've got 50 Broadway as an address. That links through to the system of fraud very, very quickly, which you'll see throughout the documents. Now you've got BBC Pension Trust linked through. Again, we're looking through the Children in Need. Pardon me. BBC Children in Need links through via this person, Cameron, surname of Cameron, Shirley Cameron, if it's a real person, through to BBC Media. So we've now got a media company linked to the BBC, a separate media company, and on their incorporation document they've got Bates, Wells and Braithwaite. Now that links through, you'll see now, to research on Harriet Harman. Now Harriet Harman, back in the 1980s, I think, appeared to have an affiliation through the National Council for Civil Liberties with a company called the Paedophile Information Exchange. She links through, that company links through to the Bates and Wells and Braithwaite. And it also looks, if you look at the World Trade Center, it links through to Larry Silverstein, who purchased the World Trade Center. But Harriet Harman and Patricia Hewitt, and Harriet Harman's husband at the time, appeared to be trying to test the water to see how the public will react to reducing the age of sexual consent to 10. 10! Unbelievable. She then had to come out and she did an interview trying to distance herself from it. And, you know, I feel sorry for these people, and I'm not saying Harriet Harman is, but any of these people that have been involved in this, you know, they've been brought up into this system. So there has to be an element of empathy for them. You know, I'm not angry towards these people at all. But Bates Braithwaite also links through to Peter Lawson, the officer that was in charge of the investigation for Nicola Bulley. Also links through to Madeleine McCann very quickly, because BWB number 2 Limited is on the McCann's company incorporation document. That stands for Braithwaite, Wells and Braithwaite. And also Keir Starmer links very quickly. You can see this is very important because they dissolved in January 24 after I reported the fraud. They've been trading since 2015. That's a very significant sign that they are in serious trouble over all of this. Or they should be. I mean, the only way to go with this, guys, is the truth. Rishi Sunak, I'm sure you get to watch this. David Cameron, Tony Blair, you need to be gone. You need to just walk out. Douglas Smith, just go. All right, save yourselves in all of this. I'm not talking about physically. I'm talking about spiritually here. You're lost souls. I feel sorry for you. Just move away from this and let people come in to change the world for the better. This can't go on. All right, but looking at their incorporation document, you can see you've got for the attention of General Counsel and Solicitor of HMRC Solicitors. This is so significant. You also might have seen on the news recently, they're now closing the HMRC helplines. Over the next few months, they'll be closing down for a while. So I actually anticipate that this is a global collaborative system of fraud. I think everyone's working together. The governments of the organisations are working together in relation to the taxation system, and that what I think they're planning is to shut down the Western banks and the US dollar and move to blockchain technology, which is what China and Russia are using. I understand it from research. That cannot happen. It cannot happen because you'll see from one of the other videos that blockchain has been infiltrated in this system of fraud. No digital currency can be taken over in relation to the taxation system. If that happens, it's game over for everyone, because the enslavement of the whole world will take place. This is a spiritual war, guys. Those involved in this need to realise that. They've been misguided. They are completely lost souls, and I don't mean that offensively in any way. I feel sorry for those that are involved in this. We've got to come back to truth, integrity, transparency. It's now the only way forward. So cash cannot be removed. But research in relation to Legalinks, links to Global X and Michael Lockwood, Tony Blair research very quickly again. It doesn't take long, but also it links through to American Airlines. That was one of the airplanes, if you believe what happened there with the aeroplanes going into it, then that airline company was one of those aeroplanes. PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers also links through to Dorset as well, and Connor Burns, and developments of properties around that area, or proposed developments. Hopefully everyone appreciates how massive this is. It is world changing. It's a spiritual war. People need to understand that these people are not thinking rationally. I do not mean that offensively, derogatory towards them. They've been brought up into this. They have been misled. That means they've misled us all through this corruption for the last at least century and a half. The time is now for change. God bless you all.